Wild Sports, man. It's Lamont, man. We back. Just back with another podcast video, man. Today, as you can see from the title of the video, we're just going to be talking about, normally lately, with the NBA in full effect, the NBA bubble, NBA back in action, playoff basketball about to start. Our focus has been mostly on NBA basketball. And I've been watching some videos today. And again, it just brought me back to just really thinking about this particular topic, high school basketball. So before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, interact with us in the comments, engage with us on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you're reaching out to us. Definitely communicate with us. Again, if you have any interesting topics or perspectives that you want to speak on, let us know. We can bring you onto the show and we can talk about it live and direct. So again, don't be shy. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on our social media accounts. Let us know. We'll bring you onto the show. We would love to have some of our subscribers on the show with us. But today, again, I wanted to speak on just the state of high school basketball. I saw a post on Instagram from R.J. Hampton. Now, R.J. Hampton was one of the players last year that bypassed college. He went over to Australia along with LaMelo Ball to play in the NBL. The NBL is the elite professional basketball league over in Australia. And because R.J. Hampton just doesn't have the notoriety that LaMelo Ball does, he's kind of went under the radar. But he's now entered his name into the NBA draft. He's probably going to go get drafted in the first round. He's a very, very talented player. But he had something very, very interesting to say on Instagram, on his Twitter account, and I saw it on Instagram. And he stated that the state of AAU basketball, the state of AAU basketball now, he said it's unfortunately, he said AAU basketball is just off for the cameras. And that really made me sit back and just think about basketball, just even here in Arizona as I've experienced it with some of these younger guys. AAU basketball, and I'll even kind of double down on what he said. Not just AAU basketball, but I think prep school basketball, along with AAU basketball, has kind of changed the drive, the focus, and the purpose, and also the grind of typical or standard high school basketball. Now, for a lot of us grew up just with 4 years of high school basketball. We go on from there to college. Over the summers, we worked on our own games. And then if we were lucky enough, because at least when I was in high school, to make an AAU team, you had to be an extremely elite player. It wasn't something that just anybody could go join. You couldn't just go pay and sign up. You had to be selected. And that's how it was in Indiana. Now, it could have potentially been in other states. And I see that that's kind of changed with the developments of prep schools. And I saw a few develop in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they're all over the place here in Arizona. It's changed how players play. And it made me think of one particular player. Where I feel as if he would have went the traditional route as opposed to trying to showcase himself through AAU basketball or showcase himself through prep school basketball. He potentially could have found himself on a college roster, but now he's in a situation where he's struggling to find a team now that his high school career is over with. And as you can see here, we're referring to a high school player or former high school player by the name of Julian Newman. Now, Julian Newman is a very short, I think he's maybe 5'3", 5'4", point guard, his dad is like the second coming of LeVar Ball. They have their own TV show on YouTube. He has an extremely strong social media presence and social media following. And this kid right here just grew up playing basketball his whole life. Now, his dad coached the team in high school. At his original high school, his dad was the high school coach. His dad was the coach, and his dad put him on the varsity team when he was in, I think, 7th or 8th grade. So he started off playing varsity basketball early into his career. And because of how little he was, he became an ESPN sensation. So all of these clips that you see here, these are the clips that gave him that social media notoriety that he has now. And again, a lot of people just kind of thought, wow, look at these clips, look at these highlights. This guy, even though he's little, he's going to be the next Isaiah Thomas. He's going to be the next Mookie Bugs. I mean, shooting from deep. But what a lot of people didn't realize, and this is what R.J. Hampton was referring to, was all we see here are highlight clips. You know, one thing when I did my research on Julian Newman, a lot of these highlights took place in blowout games. In games where his team was getting completely demolished and his dad left Julian Newman. They left him out there on the court just so he could compile highlights and stats of this nature. You know, because all through his high school career, I mean, Julian Newman put up big numbers, at least 20 a game, if not more. So I think he had 1 year in high school where he averaged 30 a game. But the unfortunate part about it was how they were going about winning. The unfortunate part about this was that, you know, a lot of high school players never really took Julian Newman seriously. A lot of players kind of took him as a gimmick. They didn't really look at him as an equal challenge. Like when he played LaMelo Ball's team when LaMelo was at Spire Institute in Ohio. I mean, that was just a complete blowout when they matched up LaMelo Ball and his team. I think they almost ended up winning the game by 30 or 40 points. Probably could have been more if they didn't start showboating around. The same thing happened when his team matched up against IMG Academy. Just a complete decimation. Julian Newman, just again, I think he was a highlight machine. He definitely made for good highlights, but in regards to making a good basketball team, being a good basketball player, I don't know if he's the type of player that you would actually want on your team. The unfortunate part about this situation is that I think he was raised, the way he was raised, if I was his dad, I would have kind of let another coach take over and coach him, because, you know, when you're coaching your own sons, if you're not a truly, truly great coach, it's hard to not be biased towards your own son. It's hard to take him out of the games. It's hard to sub him the way you would normally sub someone else. And I think that happened with Julian Newman. Again, this guy, he was a good player. He was a good player, but he definitely was not the type of player that should have been on the high school court every single minute of the game the way he was. I feel like Julian Newman would have definitely benefited from the traditional high school route. He did not go the traditional high school route of just going 4 years standard high school. I think after his junior year in high school, his dad created a prep school, and I think that's one of the issues with prep schools. You know, prep schools can be so easily made, and I think they do more harm than good for a lot of players. I think prep schools should be reserved for the most elite players of any given state. I mean, and when you're talking about elite players, you're only talking about maybe 20 to 30 players that could be considered elite, who could play at that prep level in any given state. And now we have prep schools. You know, prep schools are forming all over the state of Arizona. Prep schools essentially allow students to focus on playing their sport. In this case, prep schools are being developed for kids to focus on basketball and training for basketball while they participate in a homeschooling program to take care of their studies. So essentially, they're in a gym, they're practicing, they're working on their games 24 hours a day, and then using homeschool programs to be the teachers and to be the schooling for them. I think, again, with Julian Newman, I love, like I say, I love the intent of prep schools. I do love the intent of prep schools. I just think it's gotten to a point where now too many prep schools are developing, too many players are going the prep school route. What it's doing is it's hurting the high school game. The current high school game as is in most states has kind of lost that nostalgia feeling that you would have on having games on Friday nights. A lot of your best players are leaving the traditional high schools. They're going to these prep schools, and now these prep schools are playing each other, when a lot of times these prep school games kind of just turned into glorified AAU games, because these players see each other on the AAU circuit all year around. So it's just unfortunate, man, the direction that high school basketball is going. Again, with so many players, with so many people just not being honest with players and just letting guys know. I think Julian Newman is the type of player that just could have used a reality check to somebody just to be honest with them and say, look, this is the type of player that you are. This is the type of player that you can be. And if you do want to get onto the college level, these are the type of things you have to do. You have to sacrifice chucking up threes. You have to sacrifice trying to be the most dominant person or player on the court at any given time. Again, as you can see right here, I mean, and it only got exacerbated more because his dad surrounded him with players that just weren't very talented. So it really made him feel as if he was justified, at least, in the style of basketball he was playing. It just wasn't a winning style of play. You would look at these highlights and you would think that this was a team that was undefeated, winning state championships. This team was far from that. They were not very competitive at all. When they did play good teams, they normally got blown out. And in some occasions, they had losing records. So, I was just kind of wanting to vent right there. Didn't really have, I don't really have any real beef with prep schools or AUs, but I just think that we need to get back to EYBL and AAU being reserved for the most elite players. Make it something that players work for or work to, to achieve through the high school realms, just like we did when we were growing up. AAU basketball was something. AAU basketball was something that you had to have some strong middle school, 8th, 7th, 8th grade years, some strong 9th and 10th grade years to even be invited on the team. I wish we would get back to that. That would make the AAU circuit much more entertaining. The game's at least a lot more fun to watch. And you won't have players like R.J. Hampton, the current player who's playing in this particular era right now, coming out of high school. You won't have players like that saying, look, these guys are out here just playing for the cameras. And that's all it's become. When you have networks like Overtime and Ball is Life at almost every game, these kids are just trying to make plays to get on a YouTube clip, to get on somebody's Instagram feed as a highlight. They're not playing for the love of the game. They're not playing to get better. They're not working on their game. And then you can see this across the board. And all you have to do is just attend high school games or just watch some of these AAU games on YouTube. And you'll see that the quality of basketball is declining because of AAU teams just being so easy to create. And anyone can create a prep school just like that, just by creating an LLC, putting a name on it, and then making sure that the kids who come into your program are enrolled in the proper homeschooling program. I love the intent, I love the goal, but I think it's starting to ruin players. When we think on players like Kyrie Walker, formerly the #1 player in the country, went the prep school route, left his high school, and now he's kind of faded away in obscurity, probably because he was academically ineligible to attend college. Now he's overseas, maybe gonna enter an NBA draft. But again, we even see this affecting good players, and it's killing their careers. Kyrie Walker should have been in the NBA draft this year. Unfortunately, he's not, because again, I think he took bad advice, went the prep school route, and just kind of derailed his own career by making that particular decision. But you guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about high school basketball in your state. It could be different. On different states, it could be different. I'm not familiar with high school basketball in California. I'm not familiar with high school basketball in Texas or Florida, where I know it's both strong in those states. Let me know how you guys feel about high school basketball in your particular states. If you like my take, if you don't like my take, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. I would love to hear back from you guys. And again, if you're a current high school player, or if you're right out of high school, if you're in college, let me know. I genuinely want to know what you think about this particular topic. Now, this is something where I feel like I might be being brutally honest, and I don't want to pick out Julian Newman. At the end of the day, he's a very solid player, but now he's put himself in a situation where he's graduated from high school. He doesn't have any college offers, even at the D1 level, D2, or even D3 level, even though I think he could play at those levels. He's making statements saying that he's going to go overseas and play. And again, what you end up doing when you go down this path right here is, again, you waste away so many years. He's probably not going to play overseas somewhere. And if he does play overseas somewhere, they're only picking him up because of his social media following and the notoriety that it can bring to the team, which means more money. I don't think a team would necessarily pick him up because of his skill or level of play. So again, that's just the unfortunate reality of AAU basketball and prep school basketball as now constructed here in the U.S. I mean, it does, you know, for some players, like when you're talking about Jalen Green, for some players, it's worked magic. Jalen Green looks extremely dominant. It looks like he's going to go through the G League program and go into the draft next year and be great. But for other players like Julian Newman, Kyrie Walker, I feel like it's kind of destroyed their careers because it did not give them the opportunity to develop normally through this traditional high school game. FYF Sports, another great episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Again, let me know what you think. And again, if you reach out to us, we'll reach back. FYF Sports, and I'm out.